Hi guys, welcome back to the Cereal Box Mystery. We're on chapter 4, Party Plans and a Mystery. So where we left off, the kids were having breakfast. Of course, their favorite cereal, right? At least Benny's, right? And they were going to go look for Mr. Mapp where he was arrested. He's that super famous thief. So let's see what happens next. We should go to the police station and ask them where they caught Mr. Mapp, Henry said as they cleared the dishes from the breakfast table. While we are in Greenfield, we should get supplies to make decorations for Grandfather's party, Violet suggested. Good idea, Violet, Jessie said. What's this about a party? Asked Mrs. McGregor, coming into the kitchen. The children told her about their plans to give their grandfather a surprise birthday party. Mrs. McGregor thought it was a wonderful idea. She told them that she could make the cake that was even prettier than the one in the bakery. And it will be your grandfather's favorite flavor too, she assured them. Chocolate with buttercream frosting. And a pink and lavender sugar roses, Violet asked. With green sugared leaves, Mrs. McGregor added, nodding. We have to call Alice and Joe and So Lee to invite them, said Jessie. So Lee was the children's adopted cousin from Korea. Like the Aldens, she had been an orphan until the Aldens' cousins Alice and Joe had adopted her. The Aldens' children had not been living in Korea when they were orphans. They had been living in an old boxcar in the woods. After their parents had died, they had run away because they heard that their grandfather was a mean man. But it wasn't true. He had searched and searched for them and finally found them and brought them all to live with him in his big white house in Greenfield. He had even bought the old boxcar and put it in the backyard so they could visit it whenever they wanted. Jessie called Sue Lee and told her about the plans for Grandfather's birthday. Come over this afternoon and help us decorate and plan for it, she said. Sue Lee agreed to ride her bike over right after lunch. We'd better hurry, Violet said. We have a lot to do before Sue Lee gets here. Leaving watch with Mrs. McGregor, the Aldens rode their bikes to Greenfield first. Then they went to the police station. Sitting at the front desk was Officer Weatherspoon, the same police officer that helped the Aldens children when they had been broken into. Marvin Mapp, she reported. When Henry asked about him, the officer shook her head. We had to let him go for lack of evidence. He is one slippery character. What do you mean? Violet asked. Officer Weatherspoon said, we caught him at the intersection of Fox Lane and Windmill Road. He was breathing heavily as if he had been running, although he pretended he was just walking along. He was wearing a raincoat. We're pretty sure that he was the man that grabbed the jewelry, but no one could make a positive identification. And we didn't have any jewelry. He didn't have any jewelry on him. Thank you, Officer Weatherspoon, Jessie said. Why did you want to know? Asked the policewoman. We're going to find the rubies, Benny said. Officer Weatherspoon raised her eyebrows, but she didn't laugh. Instead, she said, good luck. The Aldens got on their bicycles and pedaled as fast as they could to the intersection of Fox Lane and Windmill Road. A small gift shop stood on one corner, a vacant lot on the other. Houses were on the other two corners. As the kids got off their bike, a huge dog behind a fence began to bark furiously. Benny jumped back. Henry said, I don't think Mr. Mapp hid the jewelry in there. Pointing, Violet said, maybe he went into the store and hid it in there. But when they asked the owner of the gift shop, she shook her head. I saw the guy run by across the street, she told them. He didn't come anywhere near my store. Did you see him hide anything? Or throw anything away before the police caught him? Jessie asked. Again, the store owner shook her head. Nope. He ran partway up the street, then stopped suddenly, put his hands in his pockets, and began to whistle as he didn't have a care in the world. It was almost as if he wanted the police to catch him. Thank you, said Henry. When they were back outside, Violet sighed. I don't think he hid the jewels near here, she said. No, Jessie agreed, but maybe we should take a look around just in case. The children checked the empty lot. All they found were tin cans, old newspapers, and one flat tire. People sure are litter bugs, Benny said as he gathered up the garbage and put it in the trash can on the corner. Henry bent and peered into the trash can. What are you doing, Henry? Jessie asked. Checking to make sure he didn't hide the jewels in here. It would be a good place to hide them. Who would ever think of looking for jewels in a trash can? But no necklace, ring, or bracelet. They went to the corner houses and knocked on the doors. When the old man answered, Violet said politely, We're looking for something we lost. Could we check around your front yard? Help yourself, said the man. I just cut the grass 2 days ago, so whatever you lost should show up easily if it's there. Thank you, Violet said. They carefully searched the yard, even looking under bushes and rocks. But they didn't find the stolen jewelry, and when they knocked on the front door of the other house, no one answered. Let's retrace Mr. Mapp's steps, Henry suggested. We saw the officer turn where the thief did. We can figure out where he went. But although the Aldens retraced Mr. Mapp's escape route all the way back to Main Street, they didn't find the jewels, nor did they find a single clue. Maybe he's really not the thief after all, Jessie said in a discouraged voice. Maybe not, Henry said. Violet said, Let's go talk to Mr. Bellows. We could ask him how to find Mrs. Smits and Mr. Darden, too. Maybe they could remember something that would help us. Good idea, said Benny. Mr. Bellows was sitting at the corner in the store, his chin in his hands. He did not look happy. Hi, Mr. Bellows, Benny said. What? Oh, hello, said Mr. Bellows. He didn't move. Bending over to look at the ring sparkling on the blue velvet in his glass case, Jessie asked, Has Mr. Darden been back to buy a ring? No, said Mr. Bellows. He made a face. My last customer was the thief, and he wasn't exactly a paying customer. Have you remembered anything else about the robbery? Henry asked. Something else might help catch the thief. I'm tongue-tied. Sorry about that. Not a thing, said Mr. Bellows. I just bought those rubies recently. How could the thief have known about them? Maybe he'd been in your shop before. Maybe he saw them, Violet said. Mr. Bellows shook his head. No, I put them out the day before yesterday. The only person who has seen them was Mr. Darden. He was in right before I closed up for the evening that day, but I don't think he even noticed them. He wasn't looking for a ring. Did anyone else know you had the rubies? Asked Jessie. Just me, said the woman who stole them. Of course. Dr. Anne Marie Kroll, Mr. Bellows told them. Do you think Mr. Darden or Mrs. Smits might remember more about what happened? Violet asked. Straightening up, Mr. Bellows said, I don't know. Ask them yourself if you like. He reached into his pocket and brought out his notebook. He flipped it open and tore out the piece of paper where they had written their names and addresses. Thanks, Jessie said. Outside the store, Henry said, I think we should visit Mr. Darden first. Me too, Jessie agreed. I think it is suspicious that he has not come back to the shop for a ring. And he didn't want the police to have his name and address either, Violet reminded them. That sounds suspicious too. It sure does, Henry said. He looked at his watch. I think we have just enough time to get supplies and pay Mr. Darden a visit before lunch. He might be the key to this whole mystery. Ooh, see you in chapter 5.